Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got something special for you, a story that'll take you on a wild ride down the dusty stretches of Route 66. It's about a guy named Jack, a mysterious signal, and a secret that's been buried for decades. Buckle up, grab some snacks, and let's dive into the lost signal of Route 66. This one's going to keep you hooked for the next 20 minutes. Jack Tanner was your average 32-year-old mechanic from Tulsa, Oklahoma. He had a quiet life, fixing cars, sipping cheap beer at the local dive bar, and dreaming of something bigger. But Jack had one obsession: old radios. Not the fancy digital ones, but the clunky tube-powered sets from the 50s and 60s. He'd spend hours in his garage tinkering with them, chasing static for that perfect signal. To him, it was like fishing in the airwaves. One muggy summer night in 2025, Jack picked up a beat-up Zenith Transoceanic at a flea market off Route 66 for $10. The seller, an old guy with a lazy eye, grinned and said, "That one's got stories in it." Jack laughed it off, figuring it was just sales talk. But when he got home and plugged it in, something weird happened. The radio crackled to life, spitting static like it was mad at the world. Jack twisted the dial, expecting the usual. Country stations, late-night preachers, maybe some Mexican pop bleeding over the border. But then, cutting through the noise, came a voice. Clear as day, it said, "This is Echo 7. If you're hearing this, you're our last shot. Coordinates 35.22, negative 109.18. Hurry." Then a burst of Morse code, SOS, and silence. Jack froze, beer halfway to his mouth. He checked his phone. No storm interference, no weird weather. He spun the dial again, but the voice was gone. Just static. He scribbled the coordinates on a greasy napkin. 35.22 north, negative 109.18 west. A quick Google search pinned it to a nowhere spot in Arizona, right off Route 66, a ghost town called Two Guns. Jack's gut told him this wasn't a prank. Something about that voice felt desperate. Now, most folks would have shrugged it off, right? But Jack wasn't most folks. He'd grown up on stories of Route 66, the Mother Road, full of legends about lost travelers and buried secrets. Plus, his life was stuck in neutral. Same old Tulsa, same old routine. So the next morning he packed a duffel bag, tossed the radio in his '98 Ford Ranger, and hit the road. He didn't tell anyone. Not his boss, not his sister. Just left a note. Gone fishing. The drive was 12 hours, straight through Oklahoma's flatlands, past Texas tumbleweeds, and into Arizona's red rock deserts. Jack kept the radio on the passenger seat, fiddling with it every few miles, but it stayed quiet. By dusk, he rolled into Two Guns, a crumbling relic of the old highway. Abandoned gas stations, a rusted water tower, and a sign that read, "Mountain Lions," in faded paint. It looked like time had given up on the place. Jack parked near the coordinates and stepped out into the cooling desert air. The sun was dipping low, painting the sky orange. He switched on the radio, still nothing but static. "Come on, Echo 7, where are you?" he muttered. He started walking, boots crunching on gravel, until he spotted something odd, a metal hatch half buried in the sand, rusted but intact. It looked military, like something out of a Cold War movie. Heart pounding, Jack pried it open with a crowbar from his truck. A ladder dropped into darkness. He grabbed a flashlight, tucked the radio under his arm, and climbed down. The air was stale, thick with dust. At the bottom, he found a bunker. Concrete walls, flickering fluorescent lights, and a control panel covered in switches and dials. In the corner, a skeleton slumped in a chair, wearing a tattered uniform. On its chest, a patch that read, "Echo 7. Jack's flashlight swept the room. Papers were scattered everywhere. Yellowed maps, handwritten logs, and a photo of a young guy in a crew cut, smiling next to a radio tower. The logs told a story. Back in 1962, this was a secret listening post, part of some off-the-books government project. Echo 7, real name private. Daniel Hayes, was stationed here to monitor Soviet signals during the Cuban Missile Crisis. But something went wrong. The last entry, dated October 28, 1962, read, "Tower hit by lightning. Power's out. They're not coming for me. If anyone finds this, tell my wife I tried." Jack pieced it together. Hayes had been abandoned, left to die when the crisis ended and the project was scrapped. But that didn't explain the signal Jack heard 63 years later. Jack set the radio on the control panel and turned it on. Static again, but then there it was. "This is Echo 7. If you're hearing this, you're our last shot. Coordinates 35.22, negative 109.18. Hurry." Same voice, same SOS. He checked the equipment. Dead, rusted, no power, yet the signal was live. Chills ran down his spine. Was this a ghost? A time loop? He flipped through the logs again and found a scribbled note. "Rigged transmitter to loop on emergency battery. Hope it lasts." Hayes had set up a distress call to keep running, a cry into the void, but the battery should have died decades ago. Jack traced a wire from the radio to a small box under the panel, a glowing, pulsing device he couldn't identify. It wasn't tech from the 60s. It looked alien. Now, Jack wasn't a sci-fi nut, but he'd seen enough movies to know this was weird. The box hummed, emitting a faint blue light. He hesitated, then touched it, and the radio exploded with sound. Voices, dozens of them overlapping. "Echo 7, report!" "Mayday, mayday!" "They're here!" Then, a new voice, calm and deep. "You've activated the beacon, Jack Tanner." "We've been waiting." Jack stumbled back, dropping the flashlight. The bunker shook, dust falling from the ceiling. He bolted up the ladder, heart racing, and burst into the night. Above Two Guns, the sky was alive, a ring of lights, silent and spinning. Not a plane, not a drone, something else. Jack fumbled for his phone to record, but the screen went black. The radio in his hand crackled one last time. "Thank you, Jack. You're free now." Then silence. The lights vanished as fast as they'd come. Jack stood there, panting, staring at an empty sky. He climbed back into the bunker, but the glowing box was gone, just a scorch mark where it had been. The skeleton of Hayes was still there, but the uniform patch now read, "Mission complete." Jack drove home in a daze, the radio quiet beside him. Back in Tulsa, he told no one. Who'd believe him? He tried the radio again, nothing but static. Life went on, oil changes, bar stools, the hum of normalcy. But every night he'd stare at that zenith transoceanic, wondering if he'd saved Hayes or something bigger. Here's the kicker. A month later, Jack got a package. No return address, just a faded Polaroid of Two Guns, 1962, a young private. Hayes grinning by the hatch. On the back, in shaky handwriting, "Thanks, kid." Jack's hands trembled as he checked the coordinates again. Two Guns was real, but the bunker, no record, no trace. He'd searched online, dug through archives, nothing. Was it a cover-up? A glitch in time? Or had Jack stumbled into something the universe didn't want found? So, what do you think? Was Jack a hero, a pawn, or just a guy who heard the impossible? Route 66 is full of stories, but this one's got teeth. If you like this tale, hit that like button, share it with your friends, and drop a comment. UFOs, ghosts, or government secrets, what's your theory? Subscribe for more wild rides like this. Until next time, keep your radios tuned and your eyes on the sky. See ya.